Hey, Kelly, thanks so much for joining me here on the podcast today.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be on today.
Well, our listeners know that Findaway Voices is a sponsor of the podcast, so they've heard a little bit about it. But for those who haven't been paying attention, tell us a little bit about Findaway Voices and how it works for authors.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do so. Findaway Voices, at its heart, we are a single service built to help independent authors, small publishers create, market, sell their audiobooks. We are a fully non-exclusive platform offering the widest distribution possible, so the largest network of audiobook sellers in the world. And what we aim to do is, again, inside this single platform, connect you with a global narrator base that is absolutely fantastic in creating just some remarkable audiobooks. And we actually actively recommend a set of narrators to you. And then we have an integrated workflow that helps you and the narrator work together to create that audiobook. And then once that audiobook is made, we offer north of 20 distribution partners in retail, library, K through 12, and 8 or so different business models such that you can sell your book effectively everywhere in the world, and again, all through one place.
So just to confirm, audiobooks that are distributed through Findaway Voices are actually available for library retailers to purchase?
That is correct. Yep. So today we provide, let me think. So Overdrive, Baker and Taylor,
okay.
3M Biblioteca, Odillo, Permabound. So
yeah, all the major library stores.
Okay. Exactly. So all the major sellers of digital content into public library, right now with the exception of Hoopla, which is something we're working on, you'll be able to get your books, exposed to those offerings through Findaway Voices.
Oh, that's fantastic. I completely forgot about the library markets. I was so focused on all those other retailers where I was making money.
Exactly. And, I think one of the exciting things for indies, or, I think really the library market in general is, Biblioteca, 3M, they have it right now as the pay-per-use model, where instead of, where basically a purchase in quotes occurs every time a patron checks out an audiobook. Okay. And so the library doesn't necessarily have to purchase the license up front, which means they can make a whole catalog of audiobooks available to every library. And if you are marketing as an author to your patrons, or to your listeners, and they're able to go right to their library and say, oh, do I have X book, and check it out right away, and then you'll get paid for that, regardless of whether their library has actually purchased that license or not.
And that probably explains why I've seen them come up on my royalty statement.
And that would be
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Together now.
I know. Look at this.
I want to talk a little bit about libraries again, because when I first encountered Findaway at, I think it was Digital Book World, January last year or the year before in New York, when Findaway, when I was chatting with them, I was like, wait, I recognize you guys from. I used to get these little devices from my library, because Findaway Voices is part of the larger Findaway company. Can you tell us just a bit about that?
Absolutely, yeah. So Findaway Voices is just exactly what you said. We're part of Findaway. Findaway has been a global leader in digital content delivery, audiobooks for over a decade. The device you're talking about, our flagship product known as Playaway. And Playaway, if you can imagine a device about the size of a deck of cards. Yeah. On one side is a book's cover image, and on the back is a play, pause, skip ahead buttons. And what it is a single title preloaded audiobook player. And it makes it super easy to use, incredibly popular in circulation environments. And it's this amazing device that works incredibly well in public library, where you don't have to check out CDs or anything like that. And it feels almost counterintuitive, right? As we're all, carrying our cell phones everywhere we go and listening to audiobooks or podcasts or audio on those phones. But in public library, and also we have great relationships with the U.S. Department of Defense and military. We've sent over 1 million Playaways downrange to service women and men all over the world. It works really well because, again, you don't have to shuffle through a bunch of CDs. There's no it's so simple. It's easy to use. You have a battery and you press play and you go.
Right.
And that's our flagship product. That's what got Findaway into audiobooks. It's again, it's a growing and successful brand. And from there, we've innovated in a few other ways. So keeping with this idea of preloaded products, we have a preloaded tablet with children's apps, or with various collections of apps, games, comics, video. That's called Launchpad. That's available public libraries all over the U.S. And around the world. And then on the digital audiobook side, we actually created a platform called Audio Engine. And Audio Engine is actually the world's largest business-to-business audiobook service. And so we're actually licensing content from publishers all over the world, audiobook content from publishers all over the world. And then we created accompanying technology that lets partners sync up with us and deliver the audiobooks that we're licensing right through their own brands, their own apps, their own websites, where they can control their user experience and be that front-facing force. And we're just behind the scenes making sure all that audiobook content gets there. So that's Nook Audiobooks and Scribd and Playstir and eStories and a whole host of other names that we partner with on that side.
Well, that's fantastic. That's a great background. Thank you so much for sharing it. Now let's go into your background and how you got into Findaway Voices, into this.
How much time do we have? That's an interesting one, right? And no, it's funny. So somewhere when I was about 10 years old, somebody asked my mom, what do you think Kelly's going to do when he grows up? And she's like, I don't know, but it will probably involve just sitting underneath a tree and reading and writing books. So she pegged me early on with exactly what I was trying to do. Somewhere along the way, I veered course. So I actually did a stop on Wall Street for a few years, right around the financial crisis, which I have stories galore for that, and worked in the NFL for a little while with the Cleveland Browns, which is another set of stories. But my passion, inspiration, motivation has always been around storytelling, books, writing, and was fortunate enough to join Findaway about 4.5 years ago now, and helped to work to build the Audio Engine business and a few other areas. And then as we were growing that business, we talked to so many market leaders across audiobooks, and everyone was asking, what's happening in the independent author market? Do you guys have a solution? Are you guys able to position yourselves, against the big dog in that arena, ACX and Audible? And so over a period of probably 1.5 years or so, we conceptualized, we ideated on, and then eventually built and developed Findaway Voices. And I was fortunate enough to be one of the individuals who sort of spearheaded that here at Findaway, along with our Chief Digital Officer and CEO. And now we've got a full team, and we're rocking and rolling in a really good way.
That's fantastic. So because of your passion for writing, does this work at Findaway prevent you from that passion, or have you written stuff? And if you have, is it under your name? Are you willing to share, or is that something that's kept under wraps?
No, not at all. Not at all. So I will say over the last 12 to 15 months, I haven't done a whole lot of writing. It's been almost exclusively Findaway Voices. That and a major home renovation will sort of send your head exploding. So no, but so I've actually published and narrated one book. It's called To Dad from Kelly. It's a memoir about my relationship with my late father. He passed away in 2010. And so the book is a collection of stories and lessons that I learned from him, and key moments in our relationship where I was able to take something meaningful from, and try to use that as a way to say both thank you to him and just reflect overall on our relationship. And so that is out. That is available in bookstores, and it is under my name. Heck, it's in the title there. So and then what was really cool is actually, as part of our exploration into Findaway Voices, one of the things we did was, let's get a better understanding of what it means to actually record, actually perform an audiobook. And so I was fortunate enough to go to TuneIn Studio in Santa Monica, California a few years ago. And they set me up there, and I recorded the audiobook version of To Dad from Kelly right in their studio. And if you listen to it, I think about halfway through, you can notice a distinct change in inflection and tone and everything as I'm like trying to learn on the fly at what I'm doing. Man, it blew me away. I can't imagine. I have such a great amount of respect from that experience for how voice actors, voice actresses are able to convey the sense of emotion and feeling and passion and energy and enthusiasm that they can through their performances. It is a challenging act, and to hear then what our performers and what the narrators that we're so fortunate to work with are able to do on these audiobooks, man, it just blows me away every day. It's fantastic.
Wow. Well, so you have the experience of working as both a writer as well as a producer of audiobooks or narrator.
Thanks.
So I want to understand a little bit more. So how does Findaway Voices work with narrators and with other voice talent?
Absolutely. So obviously everything we do is it's a non-exclusive relationship. And so, what our role, a little bit different than what ACX does, or actually, pretty different than what ACX does. With Findaway Voices, we collect information upfront from the author or from the publisher, from the rights owner of the work about their book. So tell us a little bit more about the subject. And from there, we actually recommend usually somewhere between 6 and 10 narrators that our casting team thinks will be fantastic for that work. And if we miss the mark a little bit, you know what, we'll keep working together and we'll try to zero in on just what the right voice is. And then when we make those recommendations, we do so at a range of per finished hour rates. So audiobooks are always quoted on that per finished hour basis. And so, we'll share a range of rates to let the author hear a few different options at a few different price points and hopefully ultimately help them zero in on what the right option is for their book. And so if you're a narrator with us, obviously it's important, for us to have the best representative samples that you have, the best bio, and have a full understanding of the range of capabilities that you represent. And then we do our best to help bring projects to you and coordinate auditions and everything like that, and to make that as seamless and as easy as possible.
So for the talent pool, is there a application process where professional performers or narrators who have a great voice, where they would apply to be considered on this big matrix that you have?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's really as easy as you can sign up at Findaway Voices or my.findawayvoices.com. And once we have that initial sign up, what we'll do is we'll ask for a little bit more information about you. Bio, profile, range of expertise, et cetera, and then some samples. And then our team will our casting team actively listens to everything and makes an evaluation and then sort of approves the full profile and everything to then be something that we're able to share with the authors that are coming in on the other side, looking to connect with the community of talent that we have.
Okay. So now I had an amazing experience this past summer. I had a sort of a digital chapbook, I call it, 12,000 or so word book called Active Reader, and it was done by Eric Brian Moore.
You chose very well. Eric is fantastic. Yeah, he's so much fun to work with. Yeah, he's great.
So the question I have, and this is just me, a personal question I just need to ask is, so if I have another project that I think Eric would be perfectly suited for, when I upload a project, can I specifically leave a note that says, I would love to work with Eric again?
Yes. Well, you should send us an email in all caps screaming, Kelly, I want to work with Eric again. And if you don't make this happen, I'm going to be very angry with you. No. All kidding aside, absolutely. As you go through, really in any of those questions, you can indicate a preferred narrator. So in this case, you could just drop us a line and say, hey, I've worked with Eric in the past and would love to work together with him. And then our team will make sure everyone's matched up and you guys are all set. And then the same goes for anyone who is an author too, even if you've never made a book with Findaway. If you already have a working relationship with a narrator, let us know that, indicate that as you go through and say, hey, I'd like to work with, this individual. And if they're not on our, sort of in the community we work with, just introduce us to them and we'll go through that process and make sure everything gets synced up, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is creating fantastic audiobook performances. And if you already have a performer who you're comfortable with, who represents your work well, who brings your characters to life, and creates that whole audio universe around your work, by all means, don't let us disrupt that in any way. We want to keep everyone happy and working well, because ultimately that will create the best audiobooks.
Well, it sounds almost like this is almost the perfect collaboration engine, where two different types of creative people can work with Findaway, because what happens is then I pay Findaway, and Findaway takes care of paying the narrator wherever they live in the world, whatever currency they need.
Yeah, our team was a little bit mad at me about some of those elements, but yeah, fully global platform everywhere in the world.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's really exciting. Now, the other thing I want to just confirm is that, so I can if I need to look for a narrator, or I have one in mind, I can use Findaway Voices. But I could also, if I actually have the rights to any of my audiobooks, or I have done a well enough job myself, assuming that I learned how to do that,
right.
Can I upload an audiobook to your platform and use Findaway Voices to distribute to your global market?
Yep, 100% yes. So if you already have an audiobook and it is non-exclusive, we'll give you the best wide distribution network in the world. So like we talked about earlier, we'll get you on all the library platforms. We'll get you on retailers, both a la carte and subscription, K through 12, provided the book is appropriate for it. And absolutely. So in that case, it's very easy. You essentially just let us know early in the process that, hey, I already have audio for this book. Provide your metadata, and provide your cover art, upload your audio files, where we have some awesome batch uploading tools now available, which makes it super easy. And then you choose your distributors and you're essentially ready to go.
That is cool. Now, I think one of the major differentiators between you and the monster, ACX, or owned by Amazon Audible, is that when I load a book, whether I do it myself, whether I use a narrator, I can set my own price. Is that true?
That is correct. Through all locations where we are allowed to, and we can exert that. So
all right.
So right off the bat, 100% at every store or partner, whether it's retail or library, you are able to control price, and we pay off the list price that you set. So the royalty rates, of course, vary by partner and channel and business model, but for all partners that are not Audible, Amazon, iBooks at the moment, you set the price and we pay you off the list price. On the other side, they will still determine the price of the book based on its duration. But everywhere else, again, you have that price control. And so you can, I think it's worth experimenting, right? You have a pretty good idea of what Audible is going to set the price at. So, you could set it at 25% less and direct your listeners to Nook Audiobooks or another outlet where your listeners are going to be able to get pretty significant value. So, there's some things we can do there.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, are you aware of marketing opportunities? Because, of course, the next question an author always asks is, okay, great, I have this. What tools, what platforms can I use to market? So we have BookBub and we have Written Word Media who do great ebook promotions. But are there audiobook promotion platforms?
Yeah, there's not specific, not the same way there are in ebooks, where they're as dedicated and have the same level of reach. But hopefully over the course of this year, we're going to get there, especially as the market continues to grow 35, 40, 45%. With that said, there are some awesome reviewer sites. BookRite is amazing, AudioFile. Those are some examples, and if anyone needs anything, they can contact me, and I'm happy to send out some links to some of those review sites, which are fantastic. Some of the other things you can do, because of the price control we do offer, you can, experiment a little bit on social media or on your website, where again, what Audible will price the book at. So if you want to price it a little bit lower or higher, just different, you could do so. You could leverage the Nook a la carte store, which is, a fantastic listening experience, and direct your listeners right to there, where there's great value. One of the areas, this goes back to the start of the conversation, we are seeing authors make in their first month to 2 months, hundreds and hundreds of dollars on the pay-per-use sales in public library. And so being able to target your listeners and say, hey, go to your library, download this book, and that's essentially a sale for you. And to the, obviously then to the that listener, to that patron, that book is essentially free for them. But everyone sort of benefits from it. And because it's a pay-per-use model, the library doesn't necessarily have had to have purchased the license. The listener is able to sort of control that. That's
groundbreaking.
Which is a huge opportunity. Of course, because they are the biggest game in town, we'll provide you with the ACX codes, the download codes, the Audible codes.
Yes.
And one of the other things I would do is also ask and get those for your narrator as well, and make sure your narrator has them so that they're able to share the work inside their, inside their audience, as that helps drum up some interest as well. So, those are all, that's sort of a start of some of the things you can do and you can recommend. And, we're actively seeking new and more opportunities for that. But, happy to continue chatting through those. We could probably spend the whole time just talking through what we can do today and where we want to go with it in the future. So, but those, I think, are some good tools to get started with.
Oh, that's great. And as new things come up, I'll be sure to either bring you in again to chat about that, share those, obviously. Now, it's interesting because you talked about the library market and a different model that wasn't just a la carte sales or token-based subscriptions.
Right.
When I got my first statement from Findaway Voices, I was expecting Audible, the biggest player in town, to be where most of my money came from, because they have through ACX, they have an exclusivity program that makes you go exclusive to Amazon and all that stuff, and you get bigger royalties, etc. And I thought, well, even that being said, I'll probably make most of my money from Audible, but 3M, Biblioteca, I received royalties from. TuneIn as well, you'd mentioned, because you were in their studios. I received royalties from them. I mean, I'd never really paid attention to them. And then I think it was Spotify that was the largest one. Was it Spotify? No. And the third largest one was
Playster, eStories. Got it.
That's what it was. Yeah, and I went, wow, I've never paid any attention to them. I've seen their ads pop up on Facebook.
Oh, yes, you have.
But I've never really paid attention to them. And the biggest, I think 70% of that month's royalties came from Playster. And it reminded me as an author that, you may have it fixed in your head as to where you're going to get your sales from. But things may surprise you if you're open to new markets.
Yeah, you could not have said it better. We 100% agree. Fundamentally, we believe in wide distribution for that very reason. You never know where your audience, where you'll create that pop with your audience, where you can gain that traction. And we're seeing it. We have authors succeeding remarkably, remarkable levels of success in public library. Playster has been incredible. Their listening is growing, really exponentially. There's knocking the cover off the ball, and they have an unbelievable access model. And so, those plus, you add in everything else, those are tremendous opportunities that, you wouldn't have otherwise. And in addition to that, you still have Audible, you still have Amazon, you still have iBooks, you still have that traditional or known network, but now you're able to leverage so many other audiences, and those audiences are growing. There's millions and millions of seconds of listening happening, every day, or hours of listening happening every day on platforms that are not named Audible, and that is creating huge opportunities for authors. And again, as we continue to experiment and try to move away from some of that just credit or token-based model, to create opportunities for authors to access their readers, their listeners directly in audio with the right level of price control, that the ability to drive sales is only going to increase or accelerate.
You see, that's intriguing, because after we finished recording this, I was going to go on Audible and look for To Dad from Kelly and use a token to get it. But now I'm going to go to Waterloo Public Library and I'm going to see if I can get the digital version of that, because it's probably coming through Findaway, and then it's coming through that Biblioteca source, I imagine, or one of those sources.
Yep, it's there. So you'll laugh all the way through through the recording of that, I'm sure, as I don't know what I'm doing. And thankfully there's like 3 characters: my dad, myself, and my grandpa. And the idea of differentiating between voices during that recording, I didn't know what the heck I was doing.
It'll be fun. I'll be sure to leave you a cheeky review.
Yeah, exactly. That's the requirement.
Now, the one last thing I wanted to ask about is, so in the summer of 2017, you did a partnership with Draft to Digital, ebook distribution company, for indie authors who are using their platform to be able to get their titles and their metadata easily into Findaway Voices. Can you talk a bit about that?
Absolutely. So the first thing I should say, man, the team at Draft to Digital is amazing. There's this idea of putting the author first, and they embody that, in my opinion, to the nth degree. You cannot speak more highly of everybody at D2D. And not only do they have this amazing service and reach and approach to authors, but they're just, all of them are so genuine and caring about what they do and who they are and what they're doing. You put all that together, and it's a recipe for great success, which is what you're seeing. So it was a wonderful opportunity for us to partner with them, and a way for us to help get our name out in the market, and showcase how we have some of the shared goals that they have, and that they've been able to create in the ebook market. So hats off to those guys. They're amazing. But that partnership was when the day we launched, to say my hair was on fire, or our team's hair was on fire, would be like the understatement of the century.
It was a little big, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was the big bang, all at once. So, I would say that, the biggest surprise, not surprise, but, in some ways affirmation or validation, was what appears to be a significant pent-up demand from authors, and authors wanting to get their books onto more platforms, to have an option, to have a say, to have a choice in where they took their audiobooks, and not to be stuck or sequestered or sort of on just that one platform. And so there was this huge built up demand. And so the moment we made it, we tried to make it as easy as possible to click just a few buttons and have all of your metadata transfer or port right over to Findaway Voices, have an account automatically created, have your cover art come. We try to make that as easy as possible. And so the floodgates opened right away, and we were just, from the moment we launched and we went live, we've been impressed and really floored by the demand. And, that demand has continued in the months since. And so it shows that there is interest in what we're doing, interest in expanding the audiobook market, creating more opportunities for indies, and this notion of sort of bringing all of the advantages or really the services and the opportunities that authors have in the ebook space that have led to so much of their successes. Okay, well, let's replicate them to the extent we can in audio, and also carve out new ways to do so in audio, because it's a different asset type. I think it speaks to how much authors are excited for that and hoping to take advantage of it.
For sure, and I think the opportunities for authors is just expanding in incredible ways. I'm so excited about the work that you guys are doing that make that easier, because I think just like ebooks 4 or 5 years ago, there was this big boom and it was a sudden change and shift in the marketplace. I think we're still at the very early days of audio and the potential for audio to grow, because you can we talking to Joanna Penn on a recent episode, and she's interested in, well, self-driving cars are coming, and there's the Apple iCar and all the things that they're doing, and all the different technologies that they're building for that. Well, what are people going to do? I can listen to audiobooks, I can read ebooks. There's more opportunities than ever before to consume books in new ways, and this is just one of the amazing opportunities.
Yep, we agree completely. We're moving more and more into this notion of format agnostic consumption, and the lines between what designates a book or an ebook or an audiobook are blurry now, and they're only gonna merge even more. And because lifestyle, audiobooks are now part of our active lifestyle, the way podcasts are, the way other, audio storytelling consumption is. It's such an intimate and beautiful way to consume a story or a piece of content. And because we're carrying an amazing audio player on our persons every day, listening and growth is only going to continue. The dynamics and it has such a great tailwind behind it. So we are just scratching the surface as to what we're going to see, in all of audio and in production. So it's pretty exciting.
That is fantastic. Well, Kelly, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me here on the podcast today. Where can listeners find out more about Findaway Voices?
Yes, absolutely. So you can visit us online, www.findawayvoices.com. You can find us on Twitter at Findaway Voices, and send us a message. Anything you want to do to connect, we are always happy to phone or anything you need. So whatever bit of info is on your mind, let us know, and we'll love to connect.
Great, Kel. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you.